This video is sponsored by PokemonStore.com, the best place to get yourself some TCG code cards. They are compatible with TCG Live, and you can of course get everything on the website for 5% off using the coupon code ZapdosTCG. This video is also sponsored by CARDMARKET.com. This is a European platform where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. I personally use it every single day, and you can do it as well. And you can use the referral name ZapdosTCG to help support the channel. This video is also sponsored by YourPlaymat.com. This is a platform where you're able to, of course, create your own custom playmat. They have, of course, capabilities to ship worldwide, and you can get 10% off by clicking the link down below. So definitely check it out. Last but not least is Dragon Shield, the best brand to protect your beautiful cards. You can of course there's links down below for US and European people, and you can of course get your best quality sleeves available, as well as deck boxes and binders. Thanks so much for sticking around with the commercials. I hope you enjoyed today's upload. If you do, be sure to let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button, and let's get this video going. Sup YouTube, it's ZapdosTCG here, and welcome back to our TCG video on my channel. On this channel you get daily Pokemon TCG uploads, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new. You're going to be learning a lot about the competitive Pokemon TCG scene, and we're going to be talking about the top 10 best decks in the Paradox Rift meta, with a lot of data already available on TrainerHill.com, as well as Play.Limitless.tcg.com. A lot of online tournaments have happened, as well as some big tournaments over in Japan, and we can have a little bit of a grasp of what is going to be good for LAIC. The Latin America International Championships over in Brazil will be an insane thing to watch. We're going to be seeing a lot of new archetypes, hopefully on stream. And a lot of amazing players will be battling it out to become the international champion for Latin America. So I'm very curious to see what will win. I will not be attending LAIC, but I can give you the top 10 best decks that I predict will be doing really well in the Paradox Rift meta. So without further ado, let's just start off. We have Snorlax block, but before we go onward with the top 10 best decks, I just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. This is my personal opinion on how you rank them, but these 10 will be very good. If you want to be attending LAIC, I suggest picking one of these decks up and just practicing until it's perfect. Maybe flip-flopping a couple of cards here and there, but the archetypes themselves are good. Also, a little bit of an honorable mention goes out to the Lost Box fanatics out there. I know Iron Hands is around, Jirachi is around. Those are annoying cards to deal with, I know, but Lost Box will still be available to a lot of players out there. People are playing it in Giratina VSTAR, but there's also Radiant Charizard, actually Sablezard as people call it, a little bit of a resurgence of that, and maybe there's going to be Lost Box variants with Roaring Moon as well. So I'm very curious to see what people will be cooking up for LAIC. And also the last honorable mention is going out to Iron Valiant EX, just barely not making the top 10 because its results are a little bit lackluster, and it's also very polarized, its matchup spread. So I just wanted to give it out. These are also great decks, but for now, let's start off with Snorlax block on the number 10 spot. How cool is it to say that we have another stall wall control-ish deck in the top 10 of a video? It's been a while, right? So now with the gain of Counter Catcher, Snorlax block becomes kind of a menace to be rocking with. Also, with 151 set, it gained that beautiful Erika's Invitation, which allows you to check out the opponent's hand, select a basic Pokemon you find there, slap it down on their bench, and drag it to the active position. So pretty much boss's orders while playing that promo Manaphy, etc. Yeah, you don't need that stuff anymore. This deck actually plays 0 energy, so your main goal is decking the opponent out, and you can trap them with the block Snorlax in the active position. And there's a lot of Pokemon that are not able to attack, or actually in decks that are playing it. Think about Radiant Greninja. If you're not playing water energies, they cannot attack. Think about Lumineon V, another support Pokemon. Squawkabilly can attack, but its damage output is lackluster, to be honest. So lots of Pokemon could potentially get trapped by Snorlax. Also, the Mew from Celebrations is another good example. So your main goal is using Misfortune Sister, discard all of the switching outs, Escape Rope, Switch Guard, regular switches, cross switchers. If you can discard all of those and the opponent no longer has a way to retrieve retreat, you win the game because you can trap something. If the opponent says, oh, I'm not going to be benching anything, you can be playing Erika's Invitation. If the opponent says like, oh, I'm just going to research other way, well, unfortunately, there's also Echoing Horn. So all the Pokemon, basic Pokemon that could get trapped are no longer safe in the hand. They are no longer safe in the discard pile. So that's how good it is. Also, no longer you need to play your boss supporter of the turn to gut something up. Now you have Counter Catcher helping this deck out ridiculously. And you can also Penny Loop with a Bravery Charm on Snorlax having 200 HP. So this is an annoying deck to be up against. There is, of course, I want to be giving you guys a note. If you expect this deck to perform really well, you could be taking in the Minior. It's a fighting type Pokemon from one of the later sets that allows you to have a little bit of a keeping this deck in check. But it's a very scary archetype, and it might actually perform better than we might all think. So this is sliding in on the number 10 spot. Very solid deck for sure. Rotom actually draws cards, and with Pidgeot infinitely looping yourself, you don't deck out while you can deck an opponent out. You also can slap Force Heal onto that. And with the help of Temple of Sinnoh, you also stop stuff from like Jet Energy in the form of Lost Tina as well as Lugia. Okay, number 9, we're going to Gholdengo. Gholdengo is a deck that actually, I wouldn't be surprised if it slided into a top 16, but getting into top 8 will be harsh for this deck. This deck, it actually has the coin bonus. If it's in the active position, you draw 2 cards. If it's not in the active position, you draw 1 card. So if you can get an army of them out, you can use the Technical Machine Evolution, which you can scout out with the Arvin package. You can use, if you go second, you can either go for the Call for Family on the Gimmighoul, or you, most importantly, will go for Battle VIP Pass and the Technical Machine Evolution, so you can instantly get 2 Gholdengos out on your very first turn going second. With that being said, you are slapping at a huge amount of damage with the Make It Rain attack. 50 damage for every energy you're willing to discard from your hands. There's a lot of them in there. We even have some Earthen Vessels as the way to find these energies. If you can have a huge hand, you even have energy retrieval as well as superior energy retrieval if they're in the discard pile. So you pretty much can one-hit KO anything, but it takes a while to find all the necessary energies. There is also the high amount of worker in here because you're a little bit weak to Path to the Peak. There's also Pokestop. So Pokestop seeing a lot of play and a lot of these turbo kind of decks. We're seeing it in Roaring Moon, Chien-Pao, Gholdengo. So Pokestop seems to be such a fantastic card in the scene right now. So people are pairing Gholdengo up with a 1-price Scissor. This Scissor is nice because you can also use Clara to get it back. And the Scissor slaps more damage for every Pokemon on the opponent's side of the field with an ability. And there's a ton of Pokemon abilities. Baxcalibur, Genesect, Bibarel, Chien-Pao, other Gholdengos, Squawkabilly, Lumina. So many Pokemon have abilities, so it's great to play the Scissor as a 1-price threat. There's also the Professor Turo, allowing you, of course, to put a Pokemon back in hand. So that's going to be very useful if you want to undo some damage done to your Gholdengo. If you want to get something that is traps, you can also get rid of that. So a very funky deck. I personally am not too keen on the deck. I expected more from it. It's a little bit of a lesser Chien-Pao in my opinion. Chien-Pao's way better. So with that being said, number 8 goes to Mew VMAX. The deck that won the World Championships has come a long way, and not a lot has changed here. For Mew, actually there's no new cards from Paradox Rift in here at all, but it's just as strong as it ever was with Melodious Echo with the Meloetta, donking people in the first turn of the game going second. The only bad thing is that it gains some more bad matchups. Roaring Moon can slap Mew VMAX. Charizard was already there to slap Mew VMAX. So instead of people teching in like Spiritomb, Drapion, all those things, there are just natural decks that have a favorable matchup, which in the past there were not. So now you have Mew VMAX. It is still a deck that can high roll. You have Crabomatic that can go heads, can the first turn Meloetta attack off. You can even go for the Ice Cube to snipe some rolls if you're up against Gardevoir. So the deck pretty much has all lines to it. There's also a Town Store in here, allowing you to find that Forest Sealstone. So you have some more consistency by your side. And the Triple Vacuum also allows you to slap down Path. It's a little bit of a mixture between like the Alessa Sparkle build. There's also some disruption in here with Judge, Iono, and a couple of Path in here. So Mew still sticking around here in the top 10, and it actually is not slowing down anytime soon. This deck will stay relevant until it actually rotates. Number 7 goes to Lugia VSTAR. Also another deck that doesn't seem to die off. Every single time people say, oh, Lugia gets worse, Lugia gets worse. Well, that's where you're wrong. Lugia has some new toys to work with. Lugia now gains Iron Hands and Earthen Vessel. Earthen Vessel is an additional way you can discard your Arceus, because as we all know, that's the problem where Lugia goes wrong, is if you're not able to discard those Arceus ASAP. There's still the play you could do with Luminium Burnat for sure, but now you have some additional answers. You can accelerate the special energies onto some Pokemon. For instance, the Charizard can now attack a little bit easier because you have that 1 of fire energy, and the Iron Hands can take multiple prize cards against one prize decks. You can just have Iron Hands show up as well as Snorlax, which is most of the time too much for decks to deal with. And that's also the reason why Lost Box isn't as popular as it used to be, because Iron Hands is in like 3 of the top 10 decks that are pulling this off quite consistently, I might add. So what you do here is just get the Archeops in the discard pile, go for the Summoning Star, Lugia VSTAR on the second turn, and then do whatever you feel like. You have Jet Energies to fly yourself into the active position, so you can slap down Iron Hands, Jet it all the way to the active position. That would be a little bit silly because you also need the manual attach of the turn to beat the lightning energy, so there's a little bit things that could go wrong. But on the other hand, you could also manually retreat, get 2 Archeops abilities off, and just attack with, of course, your Iron Hands on your second turn, and that's going to be a lot. If you're, let's say the opponent starts with Luminium, that's already 3 prize cards. Insanity. Also, you can attack with Mew EX, being very great to copy-paste attacks, because sometimes also copy-paste the Greninja with the Moonlight Shuriken, so lots of versatility in this deck, and Lugia is still here in the format, and it's also a deck that never seems to be going away anytime soon. Number 6 is going for the one and only Miraidon deck. Okay, Miraidon doesn't gain a lot of new tools, of course. JW, Jesse Parker, Tricky Jam, they all, actually Andrew Mahone, yeah, so they all played Miraidon and put Miraidon on the map ever since the World Championships. Miraidon with Path seems to be the way to go, definitely, because there's a lot of decks that rely on abilities. We're going to be talking about Roaring Moon very shortly, but your game plan against Roaring Moon is actually turn 1 Path and try to cheese them. What else do you have for new toys? Actually, the only new toy I can see here is going to be the Iron Hands EX. I know it's a little bit high rolly to get it off. You might flip-flop, like you could cut 2 lightning energies for 2 double turbo energies if you want to be playing more highly on the Iron Hands, but you don't always need Iron Hands on the very first turn of the game. You can also do it mid-game to power it up with Flaffy, 1 electric generator and attachment. That's also a possibility. That's the thing I could see working out more with Iron Hands. Of course, there are those high roll turns where you play 3 electric generators in a row to get it off on the first turn and just slap people in the face. That is definitely something that could happen, but not a lot has changed for Miraidon. You still use Tandem Unit to get all your basic lightnings instantly from the deck. You still have access to the Zapdos to provide you with that 10 additional damage output, which can definitely become relevant in the form of Miraidon being able to slap 230, enough for Iron Hands and Roaring Moon to get those knockouts. So yeah, a very solid deck, and yeah, it is just Judge Path at its best. So I think this is the best Judge Path deck we currently have in the game, and Miraidon is currently sitting here on the number 6 slot. Number 5. Charizard, Arvanzard, the Brazilian Zard, whatever you want to be calling this, Charizard is still here. We still have Lumineon and Entei, which are both Forest Sealstone targets, and you of course are relying on Arven. You go second, you use Arven, you VIP pass, you can also find Forest Sealstone, find another VIP pass, go wide on your board, set up a Pidgeot. There's also a little bit of a smaller Pidgeot line because there was a room for the Jirachi here. The cool thing is that you no longer need like 2 Pidgeys in this scenario, because you can just safely slap down a Jirachi, which means that decks like Sableye with Lost Mine Shenanigans can no longer touch you because you have the Jirachi to protect yourself, which is great. So what else can we see here is that Charizard is still a beat stick. It slaps a ridiculous amount of damage for every prize card the opponent has taken, and it charges itself up, and it has a monstrous 330 HP. Thus share a similar weakness to Roaring Moon, so maybe some grass rogue decks might come out of the woodworks, like for instance the Hisuian Electrode V deck, or I've seen some other rogue decks with grass Pokemon in there, but what we conclude here is that Charizard is still good, and it is still consistent because you have Mew Celebrations on top of an Arven package, and that's definitely going to be stitching the deck together. And I also might want to add is that Radiant Charizard is very good in this new agent format because there's a lot of new archetypes with 2 prizers that you can easily shut and KO. Also Iron Hands, you can instantly respond to an Iron Hands if you have a Radiant Zard or just with Charizard itself in general. So Radiant Zard, very good right now. Charizard, still good, so the deck is still solid. Also with the Lost Cities, you can troll a lot of decks with that, definitely Gardevoir decks. And talking about Gardevoir, that is our next candidate, is number 4. It's going to be Gardevoir EX. Gardevoir EX, another deck that doesn't seem to be going away. It is a very strong deck, has the best draw in the game, thanks to the form of Refinement, Shining Arcana, as well as Concealed cards, so you draw a ridiculous amount of cards with Gardevoir. The only bad thing is that Iron Hands is now around, so you need to be speeding up your game a little bit faster, because if you fall behind, you will probably lose the game. But other than that, if they don't get an Iron Hands on the first or the second turn of the game, you are easy peasy, running through the competition like nothing you've ever seen before. We now have Screaming Tail, a new addition, allowing you to put some damage on it. It is maxing out at 160 snipe. If you are able to, of course, put 4 energies from the discard pile onto it, you're going to be sniping 160 damage. Enough to knock out a Baxcalibur, enough to already damage some Pokemon. Take a 1-prizer, take the ninja off the board, something like that. It's very good to use. If you want, you can even boost it up if you want to add in something like, an Ancient Energy Boost Capsule if you want to. But this is just a line of play. Gardevoir has a new toy, and all the rest stays the same. Another new toy is Counter Catcher. You no longer need a high amount of Bulbasaurs, because this deck, it does fall behind, let's be honest. You then maybe Mirage that, but you can also have access to Counter Catcher then, which is also searchable by Mew from Celebrations, by the way. So you now can play Iono and a Gusting card at the same time, which is something Gardevoir always dreamed of. I've also seen some crazy combinations going where you Iono somebody, Counter Catcher a big retreat Pokemon, and then snipe away with Screaming Tail. So actually Scream Tails, it's going to be great testing that out. So Gardevoir also now has the Professor Turo, allowing you, instead of going for a penny thing, is that you also can pick up a Gardevoir EX, and all the energies then go to the discard pile, which is great. So sometimes people thought, oh, you can no longer retreat, all your energies are gone, etc. Well, now there is Professor Turo to worry about. And also, on top of that, there's also Super Rod in here. So yeah, Gardevoir still around. Torch will probably play Gardevoir, if I'm being honest, because yeah, it draws the most cards, and that's what typically the best decks in the format do. But now it's being kept a little bit in check by lots of Iron Hands. It does lose a little bit of its Lost Zone matchups. Talking about Lost Zone, we're going over to the number 3 spot, Giratina VSTAR. It seems like all the people in Japan are a big fan of Giratina and the Lost Zone package. I personally have not experienced the same consistency. Every single time I play Lostina, I seem to be going for Abyssseek and then still Brick for some reason. So Lostina is still a great deck, because you have the best disruption in the game. You have Path, you have Roxanne, you have Iono, and you have Counter Catcher. So falling behind with this deck is nice. You can now safely go for Abyss Seeking, hoping you get knocked out, so you can then go activate your late game strategy is Path, Roxanne, and Counter Catcher. Also, something you could do is like Counter Catcher again, something with huge retreat cost, and then sprinkle away with Sableye. So that's definitely something you could do. Roxanne, Path, Counter Catcher, and Sable Sprinkles is definitely a win condition for a deck like this. Giratina VSTAR also still has Star Requiem, instantly one-shotting anything in its path, and Lost Impact slapping a reasonable 280 damage, which is very great. Definitely if you Sableye, sprinkle a little bit of damage here and there first, you're going to be able to KO something with the Lost Impact as well. Also, some water energies in here allow you to attack with Radiant Greninja, and Radiant Greninja is still one of the most busted cards in the entire format. So with that being said, Lostina lovers, check out this list, try it out for yourself, and let me know how it fares. Number 2 is a new deck, Roaring Moon. I'm putting it very high up on the list because there's a lot of ways you could be playing this. You could be playing this with Galarian Moltres V, which is something I've showcased on the channel before, so that's why I'm sticking with currently on the channel. There's also the way you can play Turbo with like 4 Pokestop, 4 Tracking Shoot, just go instantly Turbo. You can play it with Bibarra for a little bit of safety from Ionos and stuff, but the main thing is clear. This deck hits like a truck. Turn 1, you can one-shot anything in the game. Frenzied Gorging is going to be eating up everything. That attack just slaps instantly. You one-shot something. That's the deck. That's pretty much the attack name. Just one-shot somebody and place 200 damage on yourself. The thing here is that you don't always need to do that because it's a Calamity Storm attack. Also slaps 220 damage if you discard a stadium in play. It can also be the stadium of the opponent, doesn't matter. But you have 4 stadiums in your deck, so a turn 1 220 is also not bad. On top of that, you have the Ancient Energy Boost Capsule, allowing you to get 60 additional HP, putting this monstrosity to 290 HP, while you're able to one-shot anything in the game, and you have also a very solid second attack. On top of that, more Peko also helps a little bit, has an ability that states if it has no energies, it has free retreat, and it comes back with an attack slapping 70 damage and moves 2 energies to one of the bench Pokemon, so you can then have free retreat once more, and you can attack with a 1-prizer, so the deck pretty much has it all, and pretty much revolves around a lot of abilities. Galarian Moltres, Lumineon, Squawkabilly, Radiant Greninja, all of them have abilities, so Path to the Peak is definitely a way to shut this down. But this deck always wants to be going second, so you have the first turn attack. If you're up against, oh, it's an Arceus, poof, knocked out. And that's why Arceus also fell off a little bit in the meta. Lostina's around, Charizard's around, Roaring Moon is around. I think it's a little bit power crowd, let's be honest here. So it looks like Roaring Moon is going to be your beat stick deck that everyone will, of course, try out. It's a very popular deck currently on the rank ladder. You see it every now and then, also in resulting into some play.limitlesstcg.com results. A lot of people are testing this out. This is a very consistent list. Downstar can either get the Ancient Energy Boost Capsule or the Forest Seal Stone, and Collapse can get rid of a 2-price liability like Lumineon or Squawkabilly. How do you set up Roaring Moon? Well, you have Dark Patch, you can E-switch an energy from the Galarian Moltres, which absorbs energies from the discard pile, and you have Professor Sada. Professor Sada is broken because it's pretty much double Melanie for ancient Pokemon. So you accelerate a basic energy card from the discard pile to 2 of your ancient Pokemon. So pretty much you attach one to Roaring Moon, you attach one to Roaring Moon. You Dark Patch, you attach off turn, off you go. You can attack on the very first turn. Let's go. First turn, slapping 220, there's a stadium in play. Second turn, you snap something out of existence, so the deck is just very strong. And I thought it was a little bit less good, but when playtesting with this deck, I was very impressed. As you saw, I did this on stream as well. I was streaming for like about 5 hours, and this deck really got a hold of me because I'm a big fan of turbo decks. I've been playing a lot of turbo decks in the format. Think about Blacephalon, Chien-Pao, and now Roaring Moon is also one of my favorites coming into this Paradox Rift format. But last, but certainly not least, is my #1 pick for LAIC. You could have guessed it already. Chien-Pao, yeah. I'm a Chien-Pao believer. I currently have 322 championship points, very close to my invite for Europe, as that is. And all thanks to Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao with the Shivery Chill. Shivery Chill gets 2 energies from the deck, and Baxcalibur can slap them on your field. What more could you want? You think, oh, it's a stage 2, it's inconsistent. That's where you're wrong. Irida can find you Candy and Baxcalibur. You have Radiant Greninja, one of the strongest 1-price attackers the game has ever seen. You can draw and you can snipe. Very good. And now we get a little bit of a helping hand. Yeah, you see what I did there? So Iron Hands comes to help out with its MPU very much. If you KO something with its second attack, you get an additional prize card. We did see it in Miraidon, we did see it in Lugia. It's also here in Chien-Pao. This is helping you out against Lost Box, which was in the past a little bit one of your weaker matchups, and also can help out against a lot of archetypes in the game. Let's say you use Escape Rope to give you a 1-prizer. You say, I don't care, I still get 2 prize cards because you can attack with the Iron Hands EX. And other than that, the deck has pretty much stayed the same, unless you can take a look at some cards beneath. There's also Counter Catcher instead of a boss's orders. In the past, people were flip-flopping, 1 boss, no boss, Lumineon, no Lumineon. So yeah, in this situation, you have just Counter Catcher. If you fall behind, you can come back in the game. And the cool thing is that Irida can fetch the Counter Catcher. On top of that, there's also Earthen Vessel. 2 copies in here, so you don't always need to promote to Chien-Pao to go for Shivery Chill. Definitely in a format with Roaring Moon around, with Miraidon around. Sometimes that's something you don't want to be doing, and that's where the Earthen Vessel can come into play. There's a lot of VIP Pass, Ultra Ball, and Nazball to go wide on your board, go consistent, get your beeps out and all that stuff. Don't always promote Shivery Chill or get out to your Chien-Pao in the first place. Earthen Vessel is sometimes better than going for Shivery Chill in this format, but you have all the control. You have Super Rod, you can attack twice with Ninja, you can threaten the opponent with Moonlight Shuriken, you can threaten the opponent with Iron Hands, you can threaten 2-prize and 3-prize Pokemon with Chien-Pao. The deck pretty much has all the avenues it needs to become the very best deck in format. Let me know how you feel about this top 10 best decks for LAIC, the best decks from Paradox Rift. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. Helps out in so many ways to support the channel, you have no idea. Also with Paradox Rift, there has been so many new faces on the channel. Feel free to leave a like, helps out a ton. And I'll be making some more content very shortly about some new rogue decks that you might not expect in Paradox Rift. With that being said, I wish you all a very fantastic rest of your day. Of course, check out my sponsors which make this video possible. PokemonStore.com, the best place for TCG live code cards. Use that coupon code ZapdosTCG for 5% off. There's Dragon Shields. You use the link down below to buy sleeves, binders, deck boxes, and you can use the coupon ZAPDOS5 to get 5% off your order, which is awesome. So yeah, stock up on a lot of Dragon Shield for the new season. Definitely do so, so you're up and ready to go. Nothing is better than playing with the best brand quality sleeves and just shuffling when they are freshly sleeved up for a tournament. Awesome feeling. Now, other than that, there's also yourplaymat.com, where you're able to create your own custom playmat from scratch. You have a team, you have your own logo, you have your favorite wallpaper. They can turn that all into a beautiful playmat. Just hit the link down below and get 10% off today when creating that custom playmat. And then there is, of course, CARDMARKET.com for European players. You can buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. So become the salesman you've always dreamed of with Pokemon cards on CARDMARKET.com and use the referral name ZapDogsTCG. Have yourself a good one, folks, and what will win LAIC? Place your bets down below in the comments, and maybe you will be right. Have a good one. Peace.